How are you, Beppe?
Hey, how are you? Fine, Bell. Can you
I'm
hear me?
good. I'm good.
Can
Just
you?
finally getting back to normal after both the FESPA show and the ITMA show.
Yeah, very long
Oh,
period of shows.
crazy long. It's one of those shows where it's good that it's only once every 4 years.
Yeah, fortunately. Otherwise, we should uh, prepare the year half before to be ready.
Yeah, it's interesting. I first time I went to an ITMA show was in 1999. It was in Paris, and it
Wow.
was it was 10 days long at that time.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I went on the last day with David Blake and a couple of others. France, of course, has strikes all the time. They had a transit strike during the show. People had to walk 5 and 6 miles to get to the show, and then
Uh,
5 and 6 miles to get back. On the last day, the strike was over, so we were able to take the train to go there. But
yeah,
just crazy. Who knows? But
yeah,
anytime you go
absolutely.
to France, you can expect a strike of some kind.
Yeah, that's it. Long show, lot of talk.
I know. Well, that's what the show is all about. You never know what's going to happen until after it, but during the show, it's just a lot of work and a lot of talking.
Yeah. No, but also the period after the show has been very busy for us. We got a lot of contact and we are
Well,
still working, replying the customer. What very good, positive.
when I mean you were working out of the M&R booth and out of your own booth, and of course,
Yeah,
lots of running back and forth for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Was good. And you, are you doing well?
I worked with a Turkish ink company that I've been working with for quite a few years overseas.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was quite busy,
yeah,
especially the first couple of days um, up until Saturday. Sunday, not much of anything.
okay.
And then the rest of the week was okay, but I think the bigger companies all came early.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know they have a lot of accounts in Bangladesh, and all the big companies from Bangladesh were there the first couple of days,
yeah,
which was really nice, and it was good to get them in and out.
yeah,
But between Bangladesh, India, they had quite a few companies, and a little bit from Sri Lanka, not that much. China, of course, is always an interesting place. I'm never sure about anything coming out of China, but uh,
yeah.
and then
Oh, excellent.
what's interesting is you just don't see much in the way of American companies coming to the show.
Yeah,
I don't think Americans know much about ITMA at all.
no, it's a different show. It's more for big company, the company, vertical company with all the treatment of the textile,
Yep.
everything. It was born for that. But because now the company are all vertical, everybody is going to introduce their own segment. So screen printing is part of these big companies and must be present.
Yeah. Always interesting. The last FESPA show, I mean, ITMA show that I did in 2019, the screen printing was terrible.
Yeah.
Um, very small for screen print. Hardly anybody showed up and really didn't know what to expect. This time it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I,
A lot of machine manufacturer, but also
yeah,
ink manufacturer. There was an interesting proposal,
yeah.
and this is the way to make the show.
I think someone said there were 12 different manufacturers of equipment,
Yeah,
of automatic equipment at the show.
and all of them with a digital hybrid uh, installed on the machine. So
That was definitely
technology
the bulk.
it's everywhere. It's
Yeah, no, the
everywhere.
hybrid was definitely where everything was.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. It's a bit expensive, but makes sense because provide the digital all the interesting opportunity to respect the standard requested by the brand, etc. And also the adhesion to any kind of substrate that today are not allowed totally with digital only. So it's a good.
Well, it was definitely a show that had massive amounts of digital, but and certainly a lot of hybrid machines. I
Yeah.
think almost every company that I went to was pretty much showing a hybrid.
Yeah. Oh, we were in two different pavilions where the screen printing was very bad. The exhibition was enlarged to, I don't remember exactly, but to 6 or 7 pavilions.
Yeah,
It was very good, very big.
I know. I mean, there were machines there that I had never seen before. Of course, uh, we don't get to see Chinese machines much. There's one from Taiwan, quite a few from Turkey, which was kind of surprising. Seeing some of them, I've seen their ovals, but I haven't seen their hybrids before,
Yeah.
and that was really quite interesting. I thought.
But
Got to
when the proposal is large, the plurality of the product and of the idea are always a positive element. So very good that everybody is going to launch their own product. Could be a competition for the most common one, and also an opportunity to introduce their home equipment.
yeah.
I see some new face. I don't know them, but just to say
Okay.
hello to
Well, you guys can
everybody.
introduce yourselves. I mean, you're quite capable.
Yeah. Oh, hello. It's good to meet you. I'm Bill. I do Charlie's calls when I can. I looking forward to this. I studied Renaissance materials and technique in Italy for
Uh-huh.
3 summers.
Okay,
Nice.
great, excellent, excellent. Nice to meet you, Bill.
Good to meet you.
Mr. Shah, go ahead.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
We don't know each other, Beppe, but I'm well aware of you. I've been following you for many years as you came out with inks and so on. And right now, I'm a consultant to the industry. I'm doing some work for Cornette. I'm trying to
Okay,
put together some marketing packages for a couple of people who want to get into wide format. I've been rumbling around the industry for 40 some odd years. Charlie and I have trudged through a lot of the same mud together, and
okay, great.
happy to be back involved in textiles.
Excellent. It's always fascinating.
Absolutely.
You would have loved to have come to the ITMA show. Besides seeing what the new Cornette $1.8 million machine looks like.
Yeah.
And I did video some of it. If you wanted, I can shoot you the takeoff part that was totally automated.
Yep.
But I mean, there was so much in the way of machinery there this time that really was interesting, innovative. Beppe's white ink on hybrid machines were being used quite a bit. I actually have one of the shirts that M&R was producing. I don't know how much you can get it. Every shirt was different, but the designs, I should say, the design stayed the same. The colorways changed from shirt to shirt to shirt. But Beppe's white ink. So this, Beppe, why don't you talk about your new white ink? Because it's quite different than the old stuff.
Yeah, we try to reduce the number of the screen involved in the hybrid because, you know, you have usually two white and then a pre-digital and then a top coat. So this means 4 screen to print 4 color in digital. So we thought it was a little bit too much. So what we try to do is to make a white super opaque, really, really opaque in the first position, and the blending white in the second position instead of the pre-digital transparent. It's a blending white because in practice it's just clear with 20% of the same white of the first screen. And this allowed us to achieve a perfect white, point white, and maintain the power of the transparent in receiving the digital. So the solution was good despite the DS had some problem during ITMA because I don't know which kind of problem, but we found difficulty after the top coat to dry the ink, but this was another story. But the result was, of course, really appreciated, and we are happy about that. So just 2 screen in order to digital. And we also suggest and propose in that occasion, instead to print the top coat, a regular top coat, we propose a sparkling top coat that was really shining and going to create a special effect on the color of the print. So this is what we did during HITMA in the M&R booth.
Anyway, Beppe, do me a favor. Give me a rundown on when you got into the industry and how you got in and why you got in, because I think all of us kind of wonder why we all got in. But
in this way, you can discover my age. So it's not nice. Yeah, I'm in the industry since about 47 years. I met the industry just for a case because my brother was a screen printer. I was good making design, so one day he asked me to make some design for him. The design was appreciated, and then he involved me in the company as a graphic designer, etc. This is how we approach. But as usual happen, I never happy about my job, so I continues to develop in terms of color separation because the supplier making color separation for us wasn't satisfying our request to achieve specific result. I've been in the United States without to speak one word to try to understand the way you were approaching the color separation. I mean, simulation process, spot color, etc. And I passed 3 days only watching the print on the machine until I understood what was the trick. And so I went home, I tried to start making my color separation, and the result was really successful. And so the customer was happy, but also my competitor was looking to have my color separation. So I decided to leave my brother company, who was a printer, and open a color separation company by myself. And so the story started. Along the way, we became Wheelflex distributor for Italy, M&R distributor for Italy, Newman roller for Italy, UV ink, Nasdaq UV ink for Italy, etc. So we make also a lot of experience in supply chain. We had good result, good successful result in Italy, and the company grew dramatically. But during the period that the production was moving to east and then to south, we lost a lot of business because no more production here. Everybody was to send the production overseas or somewhere else. And so my business in terms of machinery and ink was difficult to do. So what we try to do is to make our own ink line. It was 2007, I think, 2007. And in 2007, Virus Ink was born. Was only water-based ink. This ink had the goal to achieve performance because 2007, you can imagine how the water-based was appreciated in comparison with the plastisol. So our objective was to find a water-based working similarly than plastisol. So first thing we try to do is to launch a very stable ink, water-based, able to stay for a couple of hours in the screen without to clog the mesh. And again, after that, the second challenge has been to print wet on wet. And you know, water-based wet on wet is not so easy. They mostly have to flash any color. And even though today there are some other manufacturers printing, making ink wet on wet, but they are not able to go over 3 to 4 color. Instead, we are in condition to go also to 8, 10, as we demonstrate several times during our WOW event and also many shows. We have been the first provoking the market, printing water-based during the show, because, you know, printing in the show is the best condition for the water-based.
Yeah.
But we did it. And after 3 years, also the other manufacturer has been obligated to do the same. So we stimulate them to lift the bar, and this is always a benefit for the market. This is what we try to do. Our success in the United States was fantastic in the first 3 years. We get a lot of business. We close agreement with 3 of the biggest distributor, American distributor, and other 4 smaller, but haven't create the situation that we had to leave United States because many other things. This is a sad story. We don't want to tell anybody, but we lost the opportunity because in 10 years we changed the approach to the water base, and today the water base is also printable in single stroke. You have seen that during ITMA, we launched a Debo squeegee, not a Debo squeegee as all of us used to know, because what is in the market, the first squeegee is going to move all the ink, and the second one is printing nothing, is not some particles. So our Debo squeegee is a patent system, not only with the method, but also for the treatment, the regulation, and the treatment in Teflon to make the cleaning very easy and fast. Through the first squeegee, there are openings allowing the ink to go over, and the second squeegee is going to print the second pass. So today, not only a stable ink, not only a wet on wet printing, but also a single stroke for water-based. So this make the possibility for the water-based printing, especially the one making big production, to improve 65% their productivity. And as you could see, the print work for 7 days in the M&R booth on the digital hybrid application. That's all. Today we are still here. We have some other idea on the way because we think there is not only to work on the squeegee, but also in another couple of parts of the printed. And this is something we are researching and covering with a patent protection. But you know, we are a familiar company, very small, and we have to make investment 1 to 1, otherwise we finish the money. And this is what we are doing. A long story, as you see, but the other side is about 47 years. I'm here to do something different than the day before.
So with your new double squeegee, you're manufacturing that yourself?
Yes, we do by ourselves. We create matrix treatment. To ITMA, we launch for 2 machines, Rock and M&R, for a matter of time. But we are already producing prototype for MHM and another couple of machines. So we are in contact because all the machine manufacturer in the show has been contacted by us, requesting the design of their squeegee in order to produce for them. But this is just the beginning of the story because double squeegee is not an issue also in textile, only in textile, but also for glass application where the business is larger, but also for warnings. For example, Sakurai machine needs to double stroke, and the Sakurai machine produces 2,400 pieces per hour. Try to imagine if you are able to print a single instead of double, which kind of speed they are going to achieve. So it's a very interesting project that we are developing.
Are you good? You don't have any, well, let me rephrase it. Do you have any distributors in the US for your ink or for any of the other products anymore?
Not yet, because in my opinion, it's not necessary, because to ship 10 squeegee or 20 squeegee is quite easy, it's not costly, and can go direct to the customer. This is going to offer better price to the customer. That is what we mean. Having a dealer, as we had in the past for the ink, there is just an addition of charge, and sometimes it's too much in according. But we have requests. For example, it's quite strange. Our competitor, Matsui, asked us to distribute our squeegee in. Makes sense because they have a water-based market. But we need to think about, because you know, our market is very delicate in terms of psychological balance. Everybody thinks differently, and if you make something wrong, you are not in the condition to be successful. But we have it. In the big area like Bangladesh, India, we had a lot of interest.
Yeah,
Also,
I mean, having been to Bangladesh and gone to a lot of the major companies there, I can certainly see where they would have great interest in your squeegee, but also in your ink. They produce a lot. They make it very difficult to produce quickly. You know,
yeah.
2, 3 white screens with 2 to 3 strokes per screen is fairly common.
They have several problems, because I've been there visiting the most important client over there. Their standard production is 150 pieces per hour, and they buy machine able to print 900. It's a nonsense, but just adjusting something, we put them in the condition in 1 day to move from 180 to 500. This with the demo stroke. Try to imagine if you consider to install also the squeegee, because there the problem are not the technology, but the product they use. Because as often happen in that area, they invest millions of dollars in machinery, very performant machinery, and then kill the performance of the machinery just because they buy cheap product. And they stop the screen, they clean the screen, and the flash, instead to flash in 2 seconds, they flash in 4, 5 seconds. They do not understand that 1 second versus, 2 seconds versus 3 means already 30% more productivity. So they complain about the marginality they have, because in Bangladesh, they work with very low margin.
Yeah.
So it's one more reason to produce faster.
But
this looks like to be a difficult step to understand.
you know what I found when I was there, working with companies, and I did show them a couple of things, different double squeegee than what you have, and how we could reduce from 3 screens down to 2, from 3 strokes down to 2 strokes. The problem that you have there is, unless you speak to the owner of the company, nobody changes anything. And the reason they don't, even though you can show them how they can increase their production by 25, 30%, they don't want to do it, because then they're afraid that the owner of the company will ask them why they didn't do it sooner. And so since they are quite happy, the owner's quite happy with what they get, nobody, the production managers or the plant managers, even if you show them how you can make it faster, they don't want to do it. The only way to get it done is to speak to the owners. And unfortunately, in Bangladesh, a lot of the owners live in England and are not even in Bangladesh.
Yeah, that's a problem, but you touch a very interesting point, because I've been visiting Moscow. You probably know this company in Bangladesh, and there are 2 big buildings. One is full of M&R, another one is full of rock.
Correct.
And so try to imagine which kind of production. And this is a company where we improve the productivity to 500, just retouching something. And it's also changing mash count, etc., because they were using not good thing, so was obligated to use larger mesh count, and it was in conflict with the speed of the production. But the big problem has been, right, the production manager.
Yep.
Is the production manager blocking every evolution. Why? Because otherwise it's going to show the limit he had in the past year. And the owner is going to tell him what you did in the past year. In one day, we get a different productivity. Why that? So they are killing any communication from you or consultant in general to the ownership. And this is the big problem, because they are killing their market. Because today, Bangladesh is working with a very, very, very little margin. So they are.
Just lost you. There you go.
So, but this is the situation in the market.
I've been to that company and I did work with them.
Yeah.
And did it go anywhere? No.
Yeah.
Just because you're not dealing with the owner, unless you talk to the owner, it won't change.
They came back to visit us during ITMA. The production manager has been there. No, you have to help me. But I already help you, but you don't want. What we can do different?
Yeah.
The squeegee is a further benefit for you, but if you are not open for change, you never change.
Well, and you're right. That is a problem. Are they really open for change? Not much. if they're making money, even if it's a little, they're content to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Which,
Anyway, I think just to talk about an argument interesting for everybody, we are not many, so we can run around. Concerning the printing in the future, I think there is two directions.
Be right back, guys.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I think we lost Glenn for a moment. I mean, he's
Yes, I can hear you.
yeah,
Okay, no.
he just has his sound off.
Uh,
Must be doing something really important.
could be. We can justify him. Now, what I want to add to this quick discussion is that the direction of the screen printing could be in the future very exciting, but need massive change. Massive change means mentality, mentality in approaching the screen printing, digitalization that is not necessarily a digital machine, but the digitalization of the machine functions that can go to provide automatic regulation in according with some specific term. Otherwise, the discussion will be always on the price. And who makes money by big machine? We are convinced in the industry that the big machine is a sense of a live screen printing, but no, it's just a method to try to be more competitive. But if we don't change the kind of approach and discovering which is the weak point will be always difficult to be successful in the future, because digital is becoming stronger, but also more expensive.
Yeah, by a lot.
Polaris, you mentioned about Corning, 1.8 million. Polaris, 1 million. Digital hybrid from M&R machine and digital is about 400,000, and the screen print machine still inside within the $100,000. So there is still potential to grow because digital is not suitable for everything, as today screen printing is not suitable for everything. There is a lot of business for the digital, but same for the screen printing. But of course, we have to lift the bar of the quality, because if you go to investigate about the data of comparison between screen printing and digital is taking the lowest quality part of the screen printing. So where the screen printing is not able to provide solution or result. So there, the digital jump in, because very easy, you push the button, you get the print. But for the rest of the production, screen printing still has something to say.
Yeah, I just don't see screen printing going away. I think certainly more hybrid situations are going to develop. Without a doubt, not everyone is going to be able to jump on it just because the cost is extraordinary for a lot of smaller companies. With other things, the other factors that are coming into play. I mean, you have DTF, which was a lot of talk at FESPA and at ITMA, which of course it replaces some of what the hybrid would do. It replaces some of what screen print would do, short runs, full color, etc. There's a lot of technology that's actually hitting the market all at once right now. And I think a lot of it comes down to looking at where your particular company is and what will benefit it most in terms of growth and staying competitive. You
No,
know,
the big mistake we can do is to be convinced that one technology will be able to replace another one. This never happened and never will happen. Why? Because both of the technology need each other for some application, etc. And there are some application specific 100% for the digital, as there are specific application for screen printing. So it's stupid to also the DTF. DTF is horrible, but if you go to think it's horrible as an M-fill, etc. No, you know, in the fashion is not acceptable, etc. But if you go to think carefully to this technology, it's going to solve a lot of problem to the small shop doing small quantity or so I don't know, an organization on the fest or what else. This is fantastic. So no one technology is wrong. As many they are on the market is good. And in my opinion, a big company should have one of each inside, because it depends on the kind of job you have a solution. This is the power of the printing in the garment decoration. We spend time to fight. My technology is better than yours. Digital is the future. Screen printing is already dying, etc. It's wrong. It's wrong because it's a nonsense. Because all of us knows that there are production for one and production for other one, and also the investment. No, a Polaris or a Cornet. 1 million, 1.8 million. So how many company can buy? There are some also 2 or 3, but how many others?
yeah,
So,
You know, Beppe, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, being in both parts of the industry, textile and non-textile and graphic, and I've seen this evolution in graphic, you know, from both cut sheet, screen print, digital, continuous feed. You know, we are apparel decorators.
exactly.
So, you know, how we decorate that is up to the guy who's really looking at the business and saying, I can decorate this apparel this way at the best result to my company and the customer, and I can do it this way. And the options just keep growing. So when I hear you say something like, you know, they should have one of everything, you know, it's so true to elevate the conversation to say we're not that we're screen printers, not that we're digital printers, we're apparel decorators.
right.
Yeah,
How do we do
absolutely.
that best?
Absolutely. I would include also the embroidery, because also the embroidery, you know, one day the digital is going to replace the embroidery. No, but the digitalization of the machine can help to get a better embroidery. So we have to cooperate all together. I'm 100% screen printing because it's my passion. It's something I spend a life to try to understand, but this is my field of action. So other one will be in the digital, but try to put together all this knowledge and vision for the future, how much faster we could grow.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, certainly the bigger companies, even when I went to Bangladesh, it was not unusual to see screen print on automatic, screen print on tables, digital, straight digital, digital hybrid. All the major companies have gone in that direction, and basically they are able to handle whatever is put in front of them in terms of the most efficient way to get a particular job out the door. And what's interesting when you go to a place like Bangladesh, the big companies are monstrous. when you come to the US, which is kind of funny because every foreign company wants to have representation in the US. In the US, we don't, you know, even when you look at the biggest of the companies that we have, they're not as diversified. They are screen printers. They may have digital equipment as well. None of them are monster companies because none of that business is really in the US anymore. And so the idea of having one of everything is a great idea, but I think it's an idea that's going to be more in use overseas than it is in America.
Yeah, America, you know, what I think is a bit too much conservative, not because the people, but because the people controlling the market, they are keeping the customer blocked to specific way to think. And what I can see is that everybody is doing the same thing. And when you do the same thing of the other, you can be different also with the price. And this is a no sense. Instead, to go to see the people also in Bangladesh, you mentioned that, but in India, in many areas, I travel everywhere, and I can confirm that people are looking to buy fantastic machine and cheap product. So the people need to understand that their business is not to buy consumable, but their business is to produce print. So which technology is suitable to produce this kind of decoration? This is going to address the people to buy the right machine, digital or screen printing. It depends on the number, it depends on the variation, it depends on the productivity, it depends on the cost, it depends many things. But if you have no clear idea about that, it will be very difficult to change the mentality. And this is what I found in the United States. I spent there over 10 years for nothing, but I did it. And I could understand some situation. And the market is controlled by the lobbies, deciding what to do, what to sell, and how to sell. And this is the reality you have to admit, because without to admit the problem, you never think to a solution.
Yeah, you know, I think the more you travel, the more you realize how conservative Americans really are and how difficult it is to stand out in America. We just don't get the big jobs anymore. We used to. Of course, there was a time where nobody was going overseas. Now everybody doesn't hesitate to go overseas. I can remember when I first started, even trying to sell a T-shirt that was made overseas was almost impossible. Everybody wanted it to be American made, only because they thought that the overseas quality wasn't going to be as good. And that really wasn't the case, but nevertheless, that was the mindset at that time. Nowadays, it's rare to see anything that's made in the U.S. in the way of garments. You know, there's a handful of companies that produce some, but most of it is done anywhere but the U.S. Price points in the U.S. are difficult just because labor is quite high versus some of the other countries that are getting the bulk of the work. And I don't know, the U.S. market is just kind of an interesting one. I think the U.S. market personally is made up of small and middle-sized shops. I don't think we really have what you would call a major-sized shop anymore. You know, the company Mascara in Bangladesh has 2 buildings with probably, I don't know, each building was about 7 or 8 floors.
Exactly.
I know I was up on the roof of one of them where the CEO has his homing pigeons and his little retreat. But in talking to the production manager, I said, how many prints a day do you do? And even if he was exaggerating a bit, they do about 350,000 prints a day. You know, I mean, it's a staggering number, especially when you think about American companies. And I don't know who the biggest in the US is, but no one in America comes even remotely close to that kind of number. And even if they were not truthful about it, it was only 300,000. That's a daily situation for them.
Yeah, but when
could-
they need to improve, the productivity, they buy other 10 machine. When
I
they go
know.
to buy the machine in the show, they buy 10 by 10. No, not
I-
1, 2, 10 by 10. Okay,
I-
and that's it. And
No,
that's
I
it.
agree.
But
Well,
is
that's how you
it the
improve
right way?
productivity. You buy more, buying more machines really doesn't improve productivity. It improves about the output, but not your productivity. The productivity per machine still stays the same. If they
Not
ever,
capacity.
if they ever really spent time and if you ever get to speak to the owners of the companies, they don't need more machines. They just need to be more efficient on the machines they have, because
Absolutely.
they certainly have
Absolutely.
tons of machines.
And they go to buy enormous machine because they have to flash any single color. And what about the cost of the energy? So
Yeah.
who is making this question? So they found the easiest solution, but without to consider. I've been visiting I don't remember the name. The company where was used to work our friend Mark Gervais. They have 50 or 70 machine and 7 kilometers of table printing. 7 kilometers.
Oh,
And
you're
I
talking
asked, hey,
about
Mark,
in
hey,
China.
Mark, the people live in the morning, night is not home yet. 7 kilometers on 8th floor, up and
Yeah.
down. They add people at table, and they improve the productivity. So
Yeah.
perhaps there is something to review in the screen printing, because I can accept that in the emerging country, this is something can happen, but now they are no longer emerging country because they are leader in the market in the garment decoration. So they have experience, technology, and everything. They have to move forward.
And Ningbo is the name of is the company in China.
Ningbo, yeah, correct.
And actually they built a second facility in Vietnam that's equal
I
in
know.
size to the one in China, because China was getting too expensive in terms of labor,
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy
they
for
are also
us to
looking
think.
in other direction again, because I have good contact, because we provide them some container of ink to print for Nike, organic ink, because now we also have a line with organic ink. We replace chemical from carbon to chemical from plant origin. So it's been approved in terms of coloration, productivity, durability by Nike and Adidas, and they are producing for them a big bulk order.
Yeah,
But
interesting.
7 kilometer, I've been impressed. 7 kilometer.
Yeah.
You need a bike. You need a bike to go to control.
No, you need a golf cart, not a bike.
Yeah.
The bike you
That's
actually have to
unbelievable.
pedal, where the golf cart you can just go. But I'm sure they have scooters to get around.
But that's all. I
No,
don't want to take you too much time, because when I'm involved in screen printing discussion, I never stop.
Well, it's
Tell me
interesting.
when I have to stop, and I shut down.
Yeah, I never had a chance to go to Ningbo. When Mark Gervais was there, kept asking me if I wanted to come over, but every time I went to China, I was tied up with shows and never really had the opportunity. But maybe one day, although he's not there
Yeah,
anymore.
it's an impressive company. It's a city. You
Yeah.
go into,
Yeah,
and you have everything inside.
yeah.
Also, the style office of the brand is inside there.
Yeah, I understand. It's just in a very immense situation. I don't know how many. I think they said automatics. They have something like 200 of them.
Yeah, not all in Ningbo they have 50 or 70. I don't remember exactly, because they purchase other machine. But if you go to consider also Vietnam and another plant again, because we deliver the ink in different address, yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think one of the last order of machine they did to Rock was about 70, the last order.
Yeah, I mean, in crazy numbers. Because I know when I was friendly with when Florian was with MHM, he met with Mark and they bought 20 automatics at that time, and that was a fairly common situation for them. They never bought one or two machines. Whatever they bought a bunch of them at once.
Yeah, and in this case, you made the price.
Yeah,
in this case is you made the price. Now you go there, M&R, I want 70 machine, which is your best price. MHM is going to do that. Rock is going to do that, and then everybody down.
Oh, they have some of everybody's
every
machine.
time.
Yeah, they own some of everybody's. It's interesting, since they're a Chinese company and they're buying machines from any place other than China.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that means that they're not in love with the Chinese machines or something, whatever. Well, who knows? So where do you think the next big market is going to be? I was talking to some people, and they're still thinking that Ethiopia may still become another hotbed for textiles.
Yeah.
It started to get there, and then the pandemic hit and kind of killed off a lot of what was going on in Ethiopia. And I'm just wondering if they may actually start doing things in Ethiopia again. Could be an interesting.
I could no longer hear you very well. I'm losing here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now
Okay.
yes.
So my thought was that Ethiopia was actually becoming a major player on textiles, where they were actually moving into some really, really big factories that were taking over an entire town. And then the pandemic hit and everybody kind of stopped. I'm wondering if what your thoughts are, if you think Ethiopia is going to be one of the next big markets.
This is a curious consideration. In my opinion, there is today a lot of consideration on Africa, but I don't consider Africa yet ready because infrastructure are needed to make something effective. There is a part of the south of the Russia, there is Tajikistan, Kazakhstan. That area looks like to become. Now there is a little bit of confusion because there were Russia and Ukraine. But this belt of the lower part of the Han country looks like to be a very interesting part to produce in terms of and also because they have very good connection, they have infrastructure, proper infrastructure, etc., and still population who need to work. So this is a good warranty for price cost, the labor cost. Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, because despite everything, they are very connected with Russia.
Yeah,
but
right now that's not a good
independent. So they are going to benefit in about all the service without to be Russian. And this is, in my opinion, a belt of Eurasia interesting to consider.
Yeah, I'm not, because of the whole issues with Russia right now, I'm not sure if any of those countries are going to be that favorable until this whole conflict is resolved. And I
Oh,
agree with you. Africa, you know, I read an article, the 10 poorest countries in the world are all from Africa, where the income average is ridiculously low, which is why it would become potentially a perfect situation to build factories. Unfortunately, also you have extremely unstable government and infrastructure. And that's the part that's
not
really
only there is
scary.
also a lot of corruption.
Oh,
So
huge.
political instability. So very difficult to make plan. I
Yeah.
know people from Mauritius that invest a lot of money in Madagascar, over 20 billion, and they been obligated to leave there everything and to run away before things go worse.
Yeah.
So
The corruption
is not yet. It's good for the one going to take materials, etc. But production, they are not ready yet for production or something.
the corruption is pretty dramatic. I mean, I was even going through the airport. They wanted money from me to move on to the next plane. It's like, really?
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was blatant. It was by the officials, and it was like, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to hit somebody for some money. You don't expect the officials who are actually passing, where you're passing through, to be part of that blatant situation. But that's Africa for you.
That are area where to have a fast track and easy connection, you put $10 into the passport and you are the president of everything.
Yeah,
And
I
they
mean,
go to
they wanted to know.
$10 solve any problem.
Yeah. Actually, to be honest with you, I think I only had $3, and that was enough to get me through as well. So,
Yeah, because for you it's nothing, but
you
for
know,
they are a lot of money.
I mean, it exactly. That's the unfortunate thing, is even $3 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know
it
if
was,
they take $3 in a day.
you know, amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the whole thing with, until Russia and Ukraine, that situation is resolved, it's going to be difficult to work with any of the other countries that are surrounding it, between Belarus and all the other ex-Russian countries, you know, or parts of Russia that broke away. Certainly, the ability there is there. When I was in Russia, what kind of caught me by surprise, Moscow was very thriving, and people were very upscale, etc. St. Petersburg was like a third world country.
Yeah.
You know, I was amazed as to how sad the people were, and how poor they were. And I kind of gauged it. The hotel that we stayed in was a little out of Moscow, a little out of downtown, and we wanted to go to Catherine's Palace. Catherine's Palace, from where I was about an hour and 5 minute ride. And so, in talking to the concierge, he said, you know, we want to take the train and then the bus, and they said, well, why don't you just take Uber? And I said, really, you have Uber here? Okay. So we took Uber. An hour and 5 minutes on a regular Uber was $11. And it was like, really, $11? We took a black Uber to get back to the boat. So they have a deal. If you're in Finland, which is where we were, if you take the overnight boat to St. Petersburg on tour, so the overnight boat has to be from 1960. I mean, it must have been the Love Boat from TV. But in any event, by doing that, you're allowed to be in Russia for 72 hours without a visa. When I went to Moscow the first time to get my visa, it was probably 25 pages of filling out forms. Okay.
Oh, really?
So this one was 72 hours,
Uh,
no visa. Great.
Uh,
So
this was
my wife-
because was because your shirts. Too many flower.
I'll tell you, the boat was scary, but and we had a stateroom. You have no idea what the size of the small rooms were like. To open their suitcase, they had to go into the hallway and open the suitcase in order to bring their clothing into the room. But in any event, to get back to the boat, we took an Uber Black. That was about a 35-minute drive, and that was $12. So in the US, just looking at an Uber Black, you're into about $60 to $70 before you've gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just kind of made it easy to figure out how poor the people in Russia really are. That being said, we're going over to the Hermitage, and a chrome-plated Bugatti drives down the street. Bugatti started about $2 million. Okay, and I'm looking at this thinking, obviously it's an oligarch, and this particular one was so chromed that you could see the reflections of the buildings on it. And I'm thinking, it's got to be $2.5, $3 million car. And you know, if I took all the people that were in the Hermitage that day and took all of their salaries and put them all together, for the next 10 years, they couldn't buy a car like that with all that money pooled together.
Absolutely.
That's
Moscow
probably
is an unbelievable city. It's the most expensive city worldwide. Just consider that. You mentioned about the poverty in St. Petersburg, and try to compare with Moscow. There is another star, because there is the power, there is the business, there is everything, there is the mafia. So the money is there.
Oh yeah. When I was in
Hey,
Moscow,
guys, I got to jump off. I got a meeting in about 2 minutes.
yeah, and we're actually
Pepe,
going to
it
wrap
was
it
a
up.
pleasure meeting you finally. And hopefully we'll catch you around at some of the trade shows.
Okay, will be my pleasure. Thank you for attending.
Glenn, Pepe, thank you so much for being on. I think we are probably going to close this down. All of this will be on my website. It's been recorded. So if you or anybody wants a copy, I can do it, but it'll be on my website anyway.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
You have
Charlie.
a great evening. I know you're ready for a
You
glass
too.
of wine.
I say hello also to Bill.
Yes.
Thank you for attending. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll
Thank
see you
you.
at the next show. Thank you
Okay.
again.
Ciao, Charlie. Take care.
All right. Ciao.